on tight. It's time again for the ride of your life at Capital Ford. And the ride of your life begins now with employee pricing for everyone on new Fords. You pay what Ford employees pay. Employee pricing means buy a new 2025 Ford F-150 for just $599 a month. Or buy a new 2025 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, only $499 a month during our Ride of Your Life event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Good evening and welcome Road to the Pit Live. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. And before we get to our special guest tonight, I'm going to introduce my co-host, my son, Nick Nunez, a producer and play-by-play announcer, and also what he thinks right now is a seasoned journalist. He's been writing a lot of articles on the Pit Press Live, and somebody I'm very proud of course, and very glad to have as my co-host this evening. Nick, welcome to the show.
Dad, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Looking forward to our two great guests tonight, ready to talk some New Mexico high school sports.
Well, without any further ado, let's introduce our first guest, one of the best officials in the state of New Mexico, who's been officiating 16 years with the Albuquerque Basketball Officials Association, also NCAA Division II, and the RMAC conference as well. And he's only 42, and there's no telling he's trying to get to that Division I level. And he's at work as we speak, Mr. Curtis Vigil. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Ed, Nick, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love the way you guys announce games, everything you guys do across the community. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Curtis, it's funny because when I'm at Western, we'll see each other down there. When I announce Western games, you do some games up in Silver City. I know your son's still playing at Cleveland, and we'll get to that later because it's a busy time for you. But, recently your brother Carl, who's now the assigner for the New Mexico Activities Association in basketball. I like Carl a lot. Carl's a good dude, man. He went on with Will Weber and James Baron and, of the Santa Fe New Mexican, and talked about the shortage of officials. And you just mentioned to me about what the numbers were when I was there and what they are now. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I touched up with you guys earlier. When I first came in 16 years ago, we had 250 referees in the central region, which encompasses all the Albuquerque area. And so when I stepped foot in the cafeteria at Highland High School in 2009, the cafeteria was so packed. My brother and I walked in, we walked back out, and I said, we're never going to make it out of here. There's too many referees. There's a lot of good veteran referees that we saw come up to the state tournament, and I thought we never had an opportunity. Now, I think we're probably sitting maybe 120 referees in the central region, and that's to cover everything in the central region and the outlying states, the Cubas, the Moriartys, the Estancias, down to Socorro. So when you have multiple games on a Tuesday night, it's very difficult to spread that love around and make sure that we can cover games. And I know some of the games have been canceled. been moved around. And referees right now are doubling and tripling up on games, so they can work a C team game, wait one game, work a varsity game, or they can work all 3 games, and that takes a toll on some of our officials. And a lot of our officials are getting a lot older. I know, when I came in, you were one of the veteran guys, and obviously Father Time, and it was time for you to step away. And we had a good group of veterans that were here, but we haven't replaced those guys and girls, and it's been very difficult to recruit them. So there's a lot of various reasons why we have a shortage, and we will touch on that as well. But we're trying to retain as much as we can, and hopefully grow our referees, because this is a rewarding avocation. That's been rewarding for myself, but it takes a lot of time and effort to be a good referee. And I think I would say, and my brother was on with Will and James, and I know fan behavior became a topic, but I would say probably the number one reason why we lose referees is the amount of time it takes to become a really good official. Now you're talking making sure that you're reviewing your games, you're in your mechanics, your rule book, you're working on your mechanics in the mirror, your communication skills. All that plays a factor, because when you're on the court, it can become very overwhelming to actually process the play and determine what's a foul, a violation. And before you know it, the play's past you, you're going down the other way, and you're like, man, I don't even know what I just saw. So I think that's probably the number one reason why, because it takes a lot of time and effort to do that. And if an official wants to take that time, it can be very rewarding with some state tournaments, state championships, and maybe getting to the NCAA level.
I think one of the things you mentioned when I was there, we had a lot of veterans, Les Williams, Paul Lawson. There was a lot of guys there that would really help you. And, Russ Giroux and everybody had their own style. I know that. I had my style back then, and I wanted to work hard. I went to camps. It just like you said, Father Time. I did 22 years of it, and I stopped when I was 50, and I was able to step into broadcasting. So, but I think all those things you mentioned, I know my good friend Tim Chacon blew out his hamstring a couple years ago, and he's still feeling that. And Timmy knows how to call games because he's a veteran. He knows what position to be in. But Tim back in the day was one hell of a player at Penasco, and run fast, and he's had to adjust a little bit. So I know when you're talking about officials doubling and tripling up on games, it's not the best thing sometimes. And back in the day, you're right, Cuba, Moriarty, everybody got a little piece of the cake, man. They did. And it's kind of tough. So when you have 120 as opposed to 250, and we'll get into that more. As a season official, you're coming off a season where you were chosen to officiate the D2 Final Four. Tell us a little bit about the season you just finished.
Wow, what an experience that I just had. I've been to the NCAA tournament 3 times, been to the first round, second round, and it's a cutthroat process. You have to get through your conference tournament first and foremost. You have to have your supervisor nominate your name. It's the same process as the NCAA Division I process, where you have 96 referees that get selected from the entire country. So thousands of referees get their names submitted. That list is then dwindled down to 96 referees, and then you're selected. And this year, the South Central Regional was in Dallas, Texas. So Dallas Baptist hosted this year. Is between them and Colorado Mines. But there were 6 of us that went from the RMAC, the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, and then 6 went from the Lone Star Conference. I also work in the Lone Star Conference, so I know a lot of those guys in that area. So the 12 referees were chosen. We were down in Dallas, and man, you talk about a process. I just did an interview with the Albuquerque Journal, and that article will come out maybe in a couple of weeks. But I was talking to him about the process, and he was overwhelmed on how we're selected and evaluated. We have a courtside supervisor that's there, and they monitor everything we do, to the way you present, to the way you project yourself. Obviously, we got to get the calls correct, fouls and violations, but actually projecting yourself on the court to run the game where the coaches and players trust you. So every night is cut night, meaning that list is dwindled down in half. So 12 referees for the first round in the quarterfinals gets down to 6, and then it gets down to 3. And then 2 of the referees, we got 2 out of our region this year, were selected to go to Evansville, Indiana. So after each game, the entire 12 referees go in, and 6 names are selected. And then after the semifinals, the 3 names are selected. And I was fortunate enough to get nominated for those next rounds. And I've been in the shoes of other referees where I get sent home. You're packing for 5-6 days, and sometimes you get sent home in the first day or the second day. But I was fortunate, first Division II men's referee out of the state of New Mexico, to make it to Evansville, Indiana, work the Elite 8 in Evansville. and then made it to the Final Four. And I was one game away from working the national championship game. And you talk about a lot of eyes on you. You have 11 camera angles, and some of the games you have to work as an alternate. And so you see all the camera angles. You have to be very good. You talk about a foundation, and what I was talking about earlier, it takes time to get there. If you don't have a good foundation, you're setting yourself up for failure. So I was fortunate. I had some good people in my corner. John Blazik, who's the D2 national coordinator, he selected me, and obviously I got sent home after the Final Four, and it's an emotional process. I know he cried after he sent the last three of us home. And all the games were on ESPN as well. So it's a neat experience, a good resume builder, and I'm hoping to build off of that and work at the Division I level. And I know I'm ready to take that jump, and hopefully I can do that this year.
That's a heck of a season. My son is chomping at the bit to ask you a question. Go ahead, son.
Curtis, you're one of the top officials in New Mexico. There's no question about it. What does your off season look like, man? What do you do to get better?
I watch video. I'm a video guy. I tell officials all the time, if you have plays, if you just want to look at video, I'll get on Zooms. We have the different text groups that we're on, and we're just sharing plays. And we talk about different philosophies when we're doing that. We talk about rules application. So, there's a lot of layers in the college level. So when you get down in the second half, under 4 minutes, under 2 minutes, what you can review, what you can't review. So I'm always in the rule book, always really observing myself, because I always want to see if I can get better every year. Because, whether it's your body, I'm in the gym 5 days a week. I try to do my best to eat as healthy as I can. That's difficult in itself, but that's probably the biggest part. You want to look the part first and foremost. Second piece to that is making sure that you're presentable in your mechanics, and then your rules. So that's consistent throughout the summertime, and then you're preparing for camps. There's multiple guys like me that are very good and top of their game right now. But when you're getting to camps, there's 100 referees that are just like you or probably better than you. So the first thing that they look at, do you have the body? And I'm 5'11", maybe touching 6 foot on a good day. And you have guys that are, 6'2", 6'3", they're in shape, they take care of themselves. And you talk about a brotherhood or just a family and environment. When you're there, everybody has that same goal. So there's no nights off. And I know for a fact that the guys and girls that I officiate with, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. So every day I'm waking up, the day I take a day off, I'm saying, well, somebody got better than me that day. That's just true. You have to have that mindset. And if you don't, man, you're just going to fall back. And then an opportunity presents itself like it did for me this year. There were some changes in some leadership. My schedule took a little bit of a hit. So when you lose, 10 games, you lose money first and foremost, but then it takes a hit on your ego. You're like, man, what did I do wrong? And then when the postseason came, I just kept progressing, and I work the postseason in every conference I work in, from NAIA, junior college, Division II, as long as there's no conflicts in that. I've been working the conference tournament for the last 9-10 years, and that's a feat in itself, because not everybody gets selected every year. But the offseason, there's really no offseason, really, to tell you the truth, Nick. It's really consistent throughout the years. I have a lot of camps and clinics I put on, so I don't want to go out of shape and present in front of my peers not looking the part as well. So I want to make sure that when I tell them, hey, your body's important, your nutrition, your fitness is important, I really, truly mean that. And I'm a testament to that.
Curtis, the game of basketball has really changed in the last 15 years. You've got this emphasis on the three-point shot, freedom of movement for offensive players. How have you evolved as official with the change in the game?
I watch a ton of basketball, so I understand where it trickles down from. Everything trickles down from the NBA down to the collegiate level, and it's really changed. You talk about the college level, and they widen the lanes a little bit, and the restricted area has come out a little more. The restricted area is there for a purpose. One, it's for safety, but two, it's to allow a little bit better flow in the game. Back in the day, everybody was taking charges or trying to take a player control foul underneath the basket. One, that's people could get injured for that, but they want a good flow. So when I'm learning the game and I'm watching that piece, a lot of it is high pick and roll basketball right now. And Ed, when you're officiating, in high school right now, I mean, our centers are 6'2", 6'3". Maybe you'll get a 6'8" guy every once in a while, but the post play is really out of the game. So you have to really evolve with it and understand where that play and action is occurring. And a lot of the action that occurs even in a high school game, but the collegiate level, is all in the perimeter, right at the 3-point line. So when I'm teaching referees and I'm observing them, I tell them, make sure you're getting underneath that 28-foot line, on the sideline, because all your action is going to be there, making sure you're picking up your help defenders. I know there's a lot of movement. And now the players, there's trainers and there's all around basketball year long, and the kids are getting better. They get better year after year. They're very, very talented. Even the Division II level, the whole transfer portal has changed the game. The Division II levels, the athletic ability is so great right now that we have to stay with that game. So if you're not watching film and you're not keeping up with that, it's very difficult, because a place can go very quickly in front of you. You've seen that, Ed. Even at Western, Dallas Baptist was there this year. They were very athletic, and if you don't understand that aspect of their game, you're going to miss a lot of plays. But you have to watch basketball, Nick. You just have to be a junkie. Right now, the NBA Summer League's on. I'm watching basketball, what they're doing. Even the referees, how they're observing plays, how they're getting underneath plays, how they're getting to the next play. That's how I get better. So really no off season. I try to keep up with it, and any tendencies that I see coming down, I kind of trickle it down to the high school level to teach the referees that aspect of it.
The late Kip Luna would always talk about that, Curtis. The game is evolving, and we must evolve with it. He was a big proponent of watching yourself on film. He said that the film doesn't lie. But some of the changes you talked about, 28-foot line, there's competitive matchups, things like that. And when you're working 3-man, you have to have communicate with your partner. There's so many things. Get your shooters, see the play beginning, middle, and end. There's so many things. Manage the game. If you see a couple of guys doing this, you got to get that right away. There's so many things. And people in row 6, wouldn't understand that. They just wouldn't. And that's why you're saying the hard work that you're talking about to be a good official, which you are, it doesn't come easy. And you're still working. You got to work, got to keep watching, learning. And I think you've done a great job of that for sure. The New Mexico Officiating Academy will host an officiating camp for all levels at the field house over there off of Paseo, I believe, on July 26th and 27th. Tell us about it. I was very interested to read about that in your flyer that you sent, and I actually got a friend of mine to sign up. Tell us about that, Curtis. I think it's a great camp, but tell us about what you're going to be doing there.
Yeah, the New Mexico Basketball Officiating Academy. It's something I put on about 6 years ago. I've put on and hosted about 3 camps. I took some years off. Now it's back. So Kevin Banks from the Fieldhouse approached me. They're going to have a high school camp, and he wanted me to put on an officiating camp and bring some referees. It's going to be, I think, a C and JV level type of camp, and I think that's kind of the level that of officials that I'm getting right now. But my whole goal, and I just want to give back. It doesn't do me any good to obtain all this information and just retain it for myself. So I've put together a really good staff, and a couple of my leaders that I have is obviously my brother's involved, Wilson Holland. He's one of my mentors. He's a Division I men's referee, so we talk very, very, very often. And then I'm trying to bring up some of the quote unquote younger officials to start working on their game. So they're going to be presenting at the camp as well. I got a James Vallejos, Roberto Torres, some of those referees where they're starting to get, the leadership roles, and I'm trying to give everybody an opportunity. So I'm pulling everybody up with me, and that's the goal. I haven't reached my top goal yet at that Division I level, working the NCAA tournament. But this whole camp is just to help referees get better, create a really good foundation for their officiating career. And once you create that foundation, you can always rely on that. So when you get caught in tough situations in a game, whether it's the crowd or the coach or the play, or you miss a call and you kick it and you know that, how can you get your mind right to understand you can get to that next play without kicking another call right after that? So, I'm just trying to give back as much as I can. Right now, I think I have 25 officials signed up. It's a low number right now. I'd like to see that number in the 40s. So if I can get to that 30 number, that'll be a very good camp. So, it's a $15 fee for each day, $30 for the both days. And, we're going to feed the referees, have some snacks, get some T-shirts for them, and hopefully make it a very good learning environment for those day and a half for our referees. So it's not a big investment. Some of these investments that I make and some of the other referees out of the state of New Mexico and across the country that make, some of these camps cost about $600 to go. And then you got on top of that, you have your airfare, your hotels and your food, and that can jump up to a $2,000 trip. It's not cheap. So that's why reinvesting in your career is very important. And $30 is not too expensive for our officials, especially some of our Albuquerque officials. I want to try to grow our number and try to get that to a 150, 175, 200 number. and let them know, hey, there's some rewards here, especially the lady that you brought on, Ed, Adriana. She played at the Division I level, and I'm hoping that, she can grow into that, because there's opportunities to get to college, Division II, Division I, and the money's very, very good at that level once you start working a lot of games. So all I'm trying to do, Ed and Nick, is give back whatever I've learned and pull everybody up with me. And if I can do that, I feel good of wherever I end my career. I know that I've helped referees become better referees, because I have 2 boys plus my niece and my nephew. They're at the Cleveland program right now. They put in a lot of work and effort in the spring and the summer. And the last thing we want to do as referees is not put in the same effort and just show up in November and be out of shape, not know our mechanics, not be in the rule book, because that's not fair to the referees. And then when you get to March, the best teams are at the pit. The best announcers, the Knicks and the Eds, are at the pit. There's a lot of eyes on you. And if you're not ready, it could be a detriment on your career. If you kick a call, you're not ready for that environment, you get 10, 15,000 fans in there, because it gets like that on Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. It can be overwhelming. And I never want a referee to step foot on the pit and say, hey, I was ready, but really they weren't. So that's the whole goal of this camp and everything that I do to give back.
Just one quick comment. I'll turn it back to my son. And I don't mean this in a bad way. There's a couple of officials that were put in those situations that had to make some tough calls, man. And, one that comes to mind, I won't mention names. You probably know what I'm talking about, a couple of years ago. And he never came back. And it was tough, because I thought he was a good official. I don't want to mention his name, because I don't want people to think I'm dogging him. I'm not. Yeah, he was a very good official, but there was a situation that came up that maybe wasn't handled right. So I think all the things that you're mentioning, the rule book, watch yourself, watch calls. Back in the day, we did text some calls back to each other. It's much more widespread now. There's so many tools. I told Adriana, get online and watch some 2-man and 3-man coverage. She's never done it, but it'll give you. She's played ball though, so I think she's got an edge over that. She played at Hofstra, so I think she has the ability. Like you said, we don't know, but what she'll be like, but she does know the game. So I think all those things you mentioned, especially, hey, I was lucky to do a 5A final, man. 2001, Hobbs and Clovis. Never forgot it. I never ran as fast before then and never ran as fast after. Adrenaline, man. 14,000 fans, and you never forget an experience like that. I called that with Phil Gonzalez and Leon Lopez of Santa Fe. So I think all those things you mentioned, you're right. There's going to be tough calls. They put my name in the paper one time over a call that I made. I know it was right. I know it. But the guy put my name in the paper, man. And, as an official, you never want your name in the paper. Never. And I remember asking that reporter later, like, okay, I didn't yell or scream. Why did you put my name in the paper, man? That's all I said. Oh, we heard you know this coach. Well, I know all the coaches. That doesn't mean you're making it sound like I was cheating for the guy. And I know I made the right call. We went and looked at the film, and I made the right call. But, yeah, I had to take a lot of heat for that. So there's a lot of things involved in what you're saying, and I'm glad you explained that. Go ahead, son.
We're speaking with Curtis Vigil, basketball official for the Albuquerque Basketball Officials Association, also for the RMAC and Lone Star Conference in Division II. Curtis, sticking with the topic of recruiting new officials to come into the game, what is your message to young high school kids that are in college that still want to be involved in the game? What do they get out of being an official?
It's really staying involved in that environment and competitive nature, because I'm a competitor by heart. And I know a lot of these ex-players, the girls and the boys, it's hard for them to hang up, their jersey. And I know for me, there was at a point where I was like, okay, I'm done. But you want to stay involved. And it's not to run anything. It's just to kind of have that involvement to say, man, I still like this environment. And it's in your blood. That's just something that drives you. So, for our biggest recruitment is word of mouth. So if we can get guys like myself to pull 1 or 2 referees every year, that's a huge piece for the recruitment tool. But anytime that I can meet ex-players that are just graduating, I know that just finished their high school career, been out of the game maybe 2-3 years, I tell them, I'm like, hey, there's some money to be made. I know a lot of young high school athletes, when they're finished, they want to make some extra cash. There's an opportunity to do that. I know you don't make a ton. You might work a lot of games, but it's the whole idea of just staying involved in the game. And if you can talk to those ex-players that we are not the bad guys. I know when I played the game of basketball, trust me, I received my fair share of technical fouls. I thought the officials were always on me and they hated me, but it was really my attitude. So when I see guys like that, I'm like, man, I was that player. I was that guy that they were talking about in the locker room to say, hey, wherever number 23 goes, make sure you keep an eye on him, because he can be a knucklehead. He can be talking smack, doing some weird stuff. but we're really not bad people. Truly, at the end of the day, I have never been in a locker room where any referee says, hey, let's go out tonight and screw this team or that team. Obviously we're human beings. And I think there was a study not too long ago where we're humans. I mean, I think percentages wise, home teams might get the edge just a tad bit because there's a lot more fans there for the home team, but it's not something that we go out and do naturally. It's just something that comes with the territory of how we officiate. But I know what I would express to ex-players right now that just finished or 2, 3, 4 years out or 10 years out is, hey, it's very rewarding. Here's an opportunity to make some money and stay in shape and give yourself an opportunity to maybe eventually work in the pit for a state championship game. Or maybe you didn't get to a collegiate level varsity roster or a varsity roster at the collegiate level. You can work college basketball, and it's very rewarding. So that's what I would tell young players is, hey, you can stay involved, make some money, and it's very rewarding. There's some stuff at the end of this. So I'm hoping that with this camp and some of the interviews that we're doing, I know I have the Albuquerque Journal coming up again. We have the state clinic July 18th and 19th, which is Friday and Saturday of this week. I'm presenting there with Wilson. And hopefully we can garner some additional referees and hopefully bring them up with us. But we need some of these veteran referees that are still here today with us to still have that same mindset and same drive. And I think that's one of the biggest things that is the biggest detriment to the current referees is that we worry about everybody else. We have to worry about ourselves. And if we don't worry about ourselves, and I'm worried about Nick and Ed, what games they're getting, and what state titles they're getting, what I got to ask myself is why and Nick keep continuing getting those games. Success leaves clues. And if you're successful, Ed and Nick are successful and they're getting those games, well, I want to start picking their brain. I want to hang around with them. I want to speak with them a little bit more. So if referees can get in that mindset, the recruitment is endless and the mindset of a family environment can come back around. Because I know when Dana Pappas was here, she did an awesome job with a family-oriented environment. I think we've lost that for the last 3 years while she's left. And I know my brother's trying to pick that up just a little bit more. So I'm trying to do my part to help out where I can and bring some of our good referees to help in that environment as well.
Real quick, no offense to Dana at all. Dana was great, but I think of having your brother as the assigner, who's an official and understands that. I think that helps. I really do. I think that helps. Because Carl understands. He's been out there on the floor. Nothing against Dana. Dana was absolutely outstanding as well. But I want to ask you, when we're going to wrap it up here, I want to ask you one more question. You got a couple of sons that play for Cleveland, and Zach Cole, and they had a good, Coach Cole is a mellow dude, man. I've talked to him, I've interviewed him, and real mellow guy. You talk to him before the game, and he'll tell you what you need to know. And I really like him a lot. Tell us what their development has been this summer. They should have a pretty good team next year.
Man, we this summer I think they went finally the end of the summer, I think 26-1. So they won the Oklahoma State team camp there in Stillwater. They went to Denver. They slipped up in the semifinals against a team from Nebraska. I think they played against a guy that was their state player of the year. And then they ended up winning and I think taking third there. But I think 26-1 is what they went as a team in the summertime. They got some key returners right now. I think Remy's, I don't know if he's coming back. I know there's a thing with his age, but Darius Stepperson's coming back. My boy, first team all district kid, and then we got some great returners. Bryson Bowie's back. The younger son of Zach Cole, Cannon Cole's there. And then my nephew Evan's there as well. So he transferred from Robertson a couple of years ago. And we have a lot of key pieces. I think we're going to make a good run. The biggest thing that I want to make sure we have is just that team camaraderie, and that not just one person is going to score the basketball, but there's going to be multiple facets to that game. And you saw a little bit of that last year, Ed. And a lot of people can score, but Sandia is going to be there, Volcano is going to be there, and I know there's some other teams that are out there in the city right now, but we're gonna have a shot, and I'm excited for it. And so I'm excited for my son. He'll have a good opportunity to make some noise as well. So he's played in the shadows of the Steffersons, Remy, and this year it's going to be a breakout year is my hope for him as well. But man, Zach this summer probably rotated 12 or 13 guys, and every 5 minutes we had a new 5 coming in. And with that method, we were still 26-1 in the summertime. And I think we're going to do some things this year. So I'm excited for the season. It's always competitive. There's a lot of kids that my son played against from second grade all the way now. They're sophomores and juniors, so it's cool to see everybody evolve into their own player. But I'm excited for Zach. Zach's a laid-back guy. He lets the kids shoot the ball, which obviously every kid wants to shoot. Zach loves the three. He lets them shoot it when he wants it, but he'll get on them as well when he needs to. So I'm excited to see what they have as well. And then, obviously we're talking basketball, but football for Cleveland is going to be another powerhouse, and I think they're going to be there at the end as well. And it's going to be an exciting winner for us at Cleveland.
Yeah, you mentioned your son, and he's a heck of a player. I really like Bryson Bowie a lot. I saw him last year. I like him a lot. He's going to be they're going to have a good lineup. You mentioned Sandia just got George Roberts in today this summer from Las Vegas, Robertson, and that's going to help them. And Greg Brown, he's won 4 in a row. That's that's crazy. That's an unbelievable record there. I think Ross Gilmore won. The old Mike Brown, the legendary coach at Academy, won 6 straight. I don't know that we give him enough credit for that. I don't know why he's forgotten about that, but he did. Curtis Vigil, Albuquerque, from the Albuquerque Basketball Officials Association, also a Division II and RMAC referee. You're going to have your camp on July 26th and 27th at the Field House, $30 entry fee. We sure appreciate you being our guest tonight and schooling us a little bit about officiating, Curtis. We hope those numbers come up. I know, like I said, being a part of it back in the day, we were 250 strong, and I'm sorry to see it's dropped like that. But I think with your camp and your enthusiasm and the way you instruct, people are going to be excited and grab onto that. I really do. Thanks again for being our guest,
Nick. Ed, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be back with Cibola linebacker Hayes Baum after these messages on Road to the Pit Live.
It's time again for the ride of your life at Capital Ford. And the ride of your life begins now with employee pricing for everyone on new Fords. You pay what Ford employees pay. Employee pricing means buy a new 2025 Ford F-150 for just $599 a month. Or buy a new 2025 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, only $499 a month during our Ride of Your Life event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Welcome back to Road to the Pit Live. Before we introduce our next guest, Nick, what did you think of Curtis Vigil?
Thought he was fantastic, Dad. Curtis Vigil is one of the best basketball officials that we have here in New Mexico. Believe he was calling games maybe when I was playing, certainly when I was coaching. Anytime I see him in the gym, I know we're going to get a really well officiated game. He's officiated basketball at some of the highest level. He told us about it, so I thought he was a really good guest.
It's kind of crazy. The numbers are that low. Hopefully they get back up. Games need officials. There was games that had to be canceled last year because of lack of officials. But without further ado, our next guest on Road to the Pit is Cibola linebacker and University of New Mexico commit, Hayes Baum. Hayes, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. Hayes, I had a chance to talk to Coach Howes this afternoon, and I'll tell you a little about what he told me. Just a little bit, but you played multiple positions throughout your career: linebacker, safety, tight end, quarterback, and running back. Which position do you feel most at home at, and how's your versatility shaped you as a player?
Well, I've been referred to as like a Swiss Army knife, being able to do a lot for my team, and something I'm so thankful to do. I think out of our defense, because we run that 3-3-5, that linebacker safety hybrid position is something I'm able to be fluent about. I mean, I'm able to stuff the run during the run game, and I'm also able to make plays during the pass game. That's something that my team expects from me.
You talked about that 3-3-5, and David Howes was your defensive coordinator last year. Am I right? Okay, so Coach Howes, the 3-3-5, he coached a little bit with Coach Long at UNM. Yeah. Talk about the way he implemented. Coach Howes is a great coach. He won a couple of championships at Rio Rancho. Chris Howe departed. He's now the head coach. Talk a little bit about how he implemented that 3-3-5, which is not an easy defense to learn. We've talked to players that have had to learn it. It's not easy. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, you're right. It's definitely not an easy defense, but it's a very smart defense. I mean, we're able to do so much just based on about what the other offense does. I mean, you being able to be in the position to make so many plays is what that defense allows me to do. And that defense is able to, like I said, play instead of we're playing against formation, we're able to play against the formations more than anything, the offensive plays.
Nick.
Speaking with Cibola linebacker, UNM football commit Hayes Baum. Hayes, we got some of your highlights up right now through weeks 1 through 5 of your junior season. You've had some pretty impressive statistics at Cibola your sophomore and junior years. Your junior year last year cut short through about 5 weeks, 53 tackles, 36 solo tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, 1 interception through 4 games played. Your sophomore season, 123 total tackles, 19 tackles for a loss, and 6 sacks. What has been your proudest moment or game so far at Cibola?
Well, I gotta say, obviously that sophomore season was super fun because I was just getting my feet wet. This season was going great. I mean, I was averaging those 15 tackles per game, and unfortunately, it was cut short due to an injury. But I gotta say, my proudest moment that I've had of this team. There's so many to think of. This offseason has been so well rounded based on the camaraderie we have in the team. There's no animosity between everyone, and we all want to get better. I mean, there's no lack of effort. There's no lack of wanting to get better every day at practice. And it, like I said, it's hard to pinpoint an exact moment, but this offseason, for example, like going to church today with my teammates and coach, we all went together. And that to me, that's something that, I mean, I'll never get back. Just doing that with them, it means a lot to me.
Hey, I just want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about your commitment to UNM football. You announced your commitment on the 4th of July. There was a story in the Albuquerque Journal published by James Yotis. They were the first Division I program to offer you a scholarship. The offer came on June 19th, so that's a pretty quick turnaround. What was it about UNM that made you want to be a Lobo as soon as you got that offer?
Well, first off, UNM, it's home. I mean, the opportunity to represent the state and community was something that I don't think I could pass up. I've always had a strong connection to UNM, the New Mexico, the Lobos in general, just being there from camps time to time again. But being able to wear that Lobo jersey and play in front of my people, my family, means a lot to me. But what really stood out to me about the coaching staff was the energy that they bring every day. I really believe in what they're trying to build there. I believe that they're passionate, and with the culture that they're bringing to UNM is going to shock a lot of people in a positive way.
A couple more questions for you, Hayes, then I'll turn it back to my dad. What was it like to be recruited by Jason Eck? You know, people are really excited about Coach Eck, the energy that he's brought back into Lobo football. What makes you excited to play for him?
Well, just looking from the outside in, how exciting is he? I mean, what a great guy, what a great coach that he is, and the staff that he's already brought along. I mean, you almost you can't see them not succeeding, and that's something that I look forward to. I'm yearning for. That's something I really want to be a part of, and just being under him and learning from him as he mentors me in this journey as well. I'm excited for.
Last question, Hayes, then I'll turn it back to my dad. Tell us about the relationship that you built with defensive coordinator for UNM football, Spence Nowinski, throughout the recruitment process.
You know, Spencer Whiskey is a great offensive mind or defensive mind. I'm sorry, he's an amazing defensive mind, and you know, I've had time to talk to him, and we're really excited about this next off season, so I can get on campus and be able to go to their meetings and learn so much as soon as possible. You know, I'm excited because I want to learn from Spencer Whiskey, and everything that he has to teach me is something that's going to not only make me a better player overall.
Dad, go ahead.
Coach How's, you mentioned Coach Chris Howard. He had coached in his, he stepped down, and now it's Coach David Howe's former Rio Rancho coach and head coach, won a couple of state titles there. You mentioned the culture's kind of changing there a little bit, and you know, Coach Howe's comes with a lot of experience. How's the arrival of Coach David Howe's changed the culture and expectations within the team? How's that changed?
Well, to start, like Coach House is one of the best football minds I've ever been around, hands down. I mean, but as a leadership wise, the way he leads our team and he holds everyone to the highest standard. I mean, whether that's catching the football, running the right routes, doing the right release, taking the short end steps as a linebacker, he demands excellence from you, and that's something that the head coach needs and what he has been able to do. And the culture shift at SIBA is very, very prominent. I mean, not only as a player have I learned from him, but as a person. I mean, literally, he has taught me so much on and off the field, how to keep my composure and how to just play. I mean, nothing matters except for just playing the game, and everything will work out for itself.
Yeah, he's you mentioned quite the football coach as far as technique. Technique matters. All those things that you mentioned, certain steps, certain releases. That's a football coach, and I'm sure everybody teaches different. You know, I'm sure Coach Howe was a good coach too, but you know, David Howe's comes with a little bit of a pedigree, man. When he coached it, when you win titles, it's you know, it's not easy to win state titles. And Coach Howe's and I talked about that playing against the Rio Ranchos, Volcano Vistas, and Cleveland. That's a monster district, man. You know, you cite Luke Kuechly, Ray Lewis, Tim Tebow, and Kobe Bryant as your role models. What qualities from each of these athletes do you strive to emulate, and why?
So Luke Kuechly, the way he approaches the game to me is amazing from a mental standpoint, an intellectual standpoint. I mean, Ray Lewis's physicality is unmatched. I mean, clearly. I mean, Tim Tebow's the faith and how he led his team was something that really sticks out to me. But most of all, Kobe Bryant, man, I don't know, his mentality, work ethic, is something I try to emulate every single day. And everything that they do is something that I try taking a piece from all of them and emulating them into my lifestyle. Kobe Bryant, his work ethic is something I truly believe that I'm the hardest worker that's going to happen. I don't believe that there's someone that's going to be working harder than me, and that is a intangible that I control and something that I strive for every day.
It's I'm going to make one more little comment here, then I'll turn it back to my son. Kobe Bryant was legendary for his hard work. This is something you may or may not know. When he's a rookie, he shot 4 air balls against Utah in the playoffs, gets off the plane, and shoots for 24 hours straight, man.
Right at a gym, at a high school gym.
Yeah. When I read that, I think I told my son that it's like I love basketball, and my son and I, both played and coached.
Yep.
And but I thought, man, 24 hours straight, I don't even know if I love it that much. That's the work ethic you spoke about that was legendary when it came to Kobe Bryant. This is a quote from Coach Howes. He was all Metro last year, even though he missed 6 games due to injury. That's the level of respect coaches around the Metro area have for him. That's from Coach Howes. One more thing I would say, my quote about Hayes is he's a great kid. He's a very good student. He's all about New Mexico. I'm very excited for him to be representing Cibola and our high school. So that's what Coach Howes thinks about you. And grades matter. Academics matter. You're also part of the all-academic team. And you and I mentioned earlier, grades will always carry the day. Go ahead, son.
Hayes, this is from Josh Greenay's article in New Mexico Prep's Impactful Journeys. Hayes Baum is redefining relentless at Cibola High School, published June 22nd, 2025. He talks in that article about your dad playing football in South Dakota. In what ways has your family's athletic background influenced you?
Well, to start, my dad put me in almost every sport that you can think of. I mean, soccer, basketball, baseball, gymnastics. I mean, all those things helped me be more an athletic person. But man, when he put me into football for so long, it was something about it just immediately clicked. I mean, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the process most of all. I fell in love with the grind of waking up every day and wanting, hey, man, I really want this, but I need to get better at this every single day. And that's something that I try to do and continue to do today. And he always pushes me today. Well, he'll wake me up earlier than practices just to go to the gym with him. Then I go to practice, or throughout the day. Hey, well, what do you think about this? Why did you do this here? And just that back and forth talks that we have always makes me a better. And I couldn't be more thankful for him.
Hayes, it's crazy how quick football is going to start here really soon. At the end of, I asked Coach Howes at the end of July, you'll start your 2-a-day workouts, and then the first game is in a couple of weeks after that. And what is it, June 13th, or I'm sorry, July 13th today, and that's how quick this season is going to be here. And I think there's some optimism around them. And I think one of the things about, and I told you this, and I told Coach Howes this, with Cibola former head coach Rod Williams, there were some good teams there. Rod Williams had some good teams. Unfortunately, they came up against the Volcano Vistas and the Rio Ranchos and Cleveland's. And something, I think in 2014, Cibola actually beat Cleveland, stunned them. So, Cibola's had some good moments, but I think there's been a drop-off with some numbers. And I think the school's on the I know athletic director Doug Dorme was trying to get numbers back up there. And Cibola's not the only school to lose numbers around the area. Highland lost some, Valley lost some, Manzano lost some, but I think Cibola is trying to get more players out there. How would you describe the strengths of this year's Cibola team, especially with the young offensive line and a dynamic skill group?
To touch on that first part, though, Doug Dorme does a fantastic job as the athletic director. And, it is unfortunate because Cibola, as a 6A school, has a population around 13,000 people. I mean, and that's competing with, and everyone who we play has more than that. So dealing with that is unfortunate, but it's something that, that Coach House continues to talk about. Is, hey, no matter what, we need to be physically tougher and mentally tougher than everybody else on the field. And then, sorry, can you repeat that second part?
Yeah, the second question, how would you describe the strength of this year's Cibola team, especially with the young offensive line and a dynamic skill group? How would you describe the strengths?
Well, that young offensive line, even though there's a lack of experience, there's no lack of hunger. I mean, they're hungry and they're willing to work every day. I mean, we have a great line coach and an offensive coordinator who gets in there every day and who we try filling the gap of that experience with everyday passion and everyday persistence, everything we do. I think our offense this year will, no matter what, they will be consistent in all that we do. I mean, that's something that we're really stressing on, is being consistent and precise with every action and play that we design. I think a strength is that defense has so many returning starters and good players. I mean, it's almost hard to overlook them. That linebacker core is returning starters, and so is that secondary. I mean, that alone with the things that we're learning from Coach House and Coach Haywood is something that, wow, it's going to be special to watch. It's going to be special to watch and be a part of.
Well, I'll tell you what, just the way the passion you describe it, man, it's hard not to get excited about the way you can't wait to get out there. You can tell to start practicing, start hitting,
Yes.
and again, man, those 2 days and the heat are not fun. That's where the work is put in, like you
For
said,
sure.
the execution, all the things that Coach House and Coach Haywood and all the other coaches are going to teach you. The work begins then. Go ahead, son.
Last question for you, man. About this time next year, you're going to be a member of the UNM football program. Coach Eck is trying to once again re-energize the fan base here for UNM football. What is your message to Lobo fans as to why they should come out and support this team?
Yeah, how exciting. I mean, listen, to all the UNM and Lobo fans out there, this is now the chance to be a part of something special. I mean, I can't wait for next season. I can't wait for their season that they're going to have this year. And Coach Eck, he's the real deal. So is everyone else on that coaching staff. And we're going to be blessed to be a part of it. And it's just got to give all glory to God on that one.
Hayes, you've got it's going to be exciting to see out there. And I think Coach Eck, he's enthusiastic about the program. He's in the community. He's trying to make a difference out there by letting people know. He's accessible. I can't say that Coach Mendenhall was. He's more of a shy guy, kind of an introvert. But Coach, you need someone to sell the program. The program, it hasn't really had a lot of attendance success in many years. But one of the things that Coach Eck does, Lobo Up, I love that. Every time I see him, I want to say Lobo Up because he's trying to get people pumped up about going out there to watch the UNM football team, and hopefully they're going to get it's a tough schedule. Got UCLA on the schedule. They've got Michigan on the schedule. So it's going to be tough. But
how exciting is that they get to play those games and just the competition alone? I mean, you get to be a part of that and you get to play those games. I mean, that's what a great player. That's what you need to want, and you need to want that competition because you get to show what you're truly about.
Well, I bet you can't wait to play. You must get really hyped up to play Cleveland's, the La Cuevas.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, right. They're going to bring the best. You want to bring the best too, and
you want to play the best. You want to be the best. You got to beat the best.
That's right. There's no doubt about it. Son, you got anything more for Hayes Baum?
No, Hayes, congratulations on your commitment, man. I wish you the best of luck your senior season at Cibola.
Hey, I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you both.
Hayes Baum, UNM football commit, Cibola linebacker. Thank you so much for being on road to the pit, and he's off. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight, Hayes. We wish you, as my son said, the best of luck in your senior season of football.
Perfect. Thank you so much. God bless you guys both. You guys have a good one. Okay.
You too, Hayes.
Bye-bye.
Well, son, I'll tell you what. I think that kid is. I call him a kid because he's 17, 18 years old. Enthusiastic about football. Enthusiastic about life. Enthusiastic about his spiritual base. He's a kid, man, and I can't. Hopefully, I'll get some Cibola games this year with ProView Networks. I want to see that kid play because you see him and you hear him, and it's tough. Coach House mentioned that the numbers at Cibola. Hey, I all the respect in the world for David House. He's got to be a friend. We served together on the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame and on the board, and he's a good guy. He's got some experience, but it's tough. It's tough when you play in that district with Cleveland and Rio Rancho and Volcano Vista. But when you have players like that, I think it's like, hey, man, you got a guy like that on our team. Let's go, their best against our best because that guy, he gives you the hope, man. He gives you that, that you have a chance. What do you think about Hayes Baum?
Oh, I thought he was terrific, Dad. Can't wait to see him in a Lobo uniform. A true student of the game. And this is something we didn't even really talk to him about. I wish we would have, but he's got a 3.8 GPA. I think his sophomore year, perhaps his junior year last year, he was first all-academic team in the district. So he's a true student athlete. We had his film up a little bit during this show. Anybody who's interested in Hayes Baum's high school film, you can catch that on Huddle. Look, I didn't play football, Dad, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm a football guru, but a good football player when you see one, man. And that kid just has a nose for the ball. Excellent tackler. He's forced fumbles. He's got a body, 6 feet, 215 pounds, and he's only going to grow. I'm really curious to see where he ends up as far as, is he going to play middle linebacker, outside linebacker. They're going to move him to safety. Seems like he has the intangibles to play multiple positions in Coach Nowitzki's defensive scheme. So can't wait to see him in a Lobo uniform and excited for him for his senior year.
I think I thought we had some great guests tonight on Road to the Pit. I really did. I hope that a lot more people sign up for Curtis Vigil's camp. You've got 30 officials sign up now, and it's only $30 to learn a lot. And then we had Hayes, Baum. Ryan Tamari is going to come back on and join us now. And Ryan, what did you think of our guest tonight?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I have all my mixer stuff packed up for Las Vegas. Hey, he already left the broadcast, or should I say the stream, but you mentioned Bronco Mendenhall. There's like no, I don't know. I was impressed by him, given some of the, when you're a high school boy, it's like he was straight to the point and had a lot of energy. I absolutely loved it. He sounds like a Jason Eck guy.
Yeah, no doubt. Love the Padres shirt, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, the Mets and Padres both lost today, so I didn't plan on jumping on. So yeah, no, I love America's finest city. You all know that.
Any comments, Ryan? I thought I saw a few. Any comments we can read?
Yeah. Here we go. Do you want me to start with the ones that offend the referees? Eric Markham, replace refs with AI. Mr. Vigil, where are your glasses? John Romero, Moose Stubbing from the old whack, didn't have the body and was the #1 ref in the conference. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Vigil on that point. Mr. Vigil, do you think Coach Owen will play 10? Seems like we have a lot of depth. John Romero, extremely grateful for the job Mr. Vigil and his refs do for our state. Lobo announcer Mike Roberts sure didn't care for the refs, LOL, but the truth. Eric Markham again, thanks, bud. Keep getting better. Try open your eyes, LOL. JK. Congrats, I think Hayes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He meant Hayes.
Yes, there you go.
Real quick to John Romero's comment. Moose Stubing, that was like in the days when Kenny Thomas played, and Moose Stubing was also a third base coach for the California Angels at that time, who were still the California Angels. Had a pot belly. So yeah, those days of Moose Stubing officiating with those kind of bodies, those are over with. Yeah, so yeah, that was in 1998 to 2000. So respectfully, John Romero, you're a big fan of ours. We love having your comments and content on. Those days are over. Curtis is absolutely right about having that body. You have to look the part, and I think Curtis is definitely trying to do that. Ryan, did you want to mention anything about Mountain West Conference Media Day in Las Vegas coming up this week?
So we'll be in Las Vegas Tuesday night. Media days are Wednesday and Thursday. The players are Wednesday. We haven't locked up a time. The plan is for us to come live with Richard Pierce and Gabe Lopez. Coaches are Thursday. And we should have a time with Jason Eck, even though he just sat down with me. Ed and I know Eric's not on. I've already talked to Eck twice. I love him. It's not an offense to you. And I think I'm going to throw that one to you or Jacob or Eric for Coach Eck on Thursday. That way you guys can talk to him. I'm planning to talk to as many coaches and players as I can for the more written content on our site. And the attorney at law is kicking my ass at writing stuff. But I challenged Nick to try to learn anything about Idaho State football. That's not a knock on them because I love FCS football. So that'll be the plan. Eric's going to be there, not Eric Markham, or Eric Moulton. Same initials, geez. I don't have my microphone, so I better not touch my face. Eric's going to be there as our visual guy. Nick, I had a lot planned for you, but you can't make the trip. It's all good. I was going to have you host with your dad, which you may or not you may or may not be happy about now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think as many people are going out from one outlet to go cover one said team. But especially with it being New Mexico football and it's not New Mexico basketball. But I'm excited for it. This is my third year in a row. And Ed, you've been at football with me. Eric and Neff, Jacob, have done basketball. This is a different beast. So Gloria Navarez will do her state of the conference on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. I will probably have to be up at the ass crack of dawn on Wednesday to get down there. Eric's flight's at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. I don't know, but he's got 2 kids. He could probably pull that off. I can't. So I'm rambling and I'm giving my whole life story. I'm hoping we can deliver a lot more coverage to an insight into Lobo football and Mountain West Conference football. Ed, I don't know what you're looking forward to.
I think last year we had a lot of fun. We interviewed the UNLV linebacker, the guy from Boise State, the guy, I think he was drafted, the Egyptian player. And there's the UNLV wide receiver, the Hawaii coach. We interviewed Bronco Mendenhall.
It was a riveting interview.
The commissioner of officials for the Mountain West football, which I found, as being a basketball official, the things that he was talking about as far as officiating, I had a great time. I really did. It was, it was fun. And then, the media guys from Albuquerque, Jeff Symbieta and Jared Chester were there. And so we got to talk to them a little bit. So I had a really good time. And I'm hoping to make the basketball media conferences in October. Just depends on my Western coverage. But I think it's a fun time. And again, the optimism, Hayes Baum has a lot of optimism. He's still got a year to play at Cibola about Lobo football. And we'll find out more. We had Gabe Lopez on last year, Richard Pierce, the offensive lineman. And, I guess one of my question marks is the offensive line seems strong. They've got a good running back room. The quarterback is a question. They don't know who Jackson Lane was hurt during spring, didn't throw. So who's their quarterback? I think that's a question for me. On the defensive line, they've not been able to generate a lot of pass rush in a long time. So they're going to be able to do that without blitzing. So I've got questions. Again, I think I've got questions overall about UNM football. I'm just thinking these things in my mind. I love the program. It's been a long time since they've had a winning season. I want Coach Eck to win 10 games, 12 games. Of course I do. I just don't know, if, will they come back? Will the fans come back? I guess is my question. And there might be an article for me down the line somewhere because I've been thinking about this a lot. But again, I'm enthused about Coach Eck. I think he's the right guy for the job. I want to see what they do on the field. So I'm really looking forward to it, Ryan. We had a good time last year.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Keno. Really feels like Eck is trying to recruit more locally. I'm all for it. Really feels like there's a lot of talent that gets overlooked here in New Mexico. What are your guys' thoughts? Nick, maybe I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, here in New Mexico, what's the total population of the state? We're probably a little under 2 million. You got to find diamonds in the rough, man. And I think Hayes Baum is a perfect example of that. There's guys that play New Mexico high school football, even at the 6A level, that put up really nice stats, but they just don't have the bodies and the physical tools to play at the D1 level. Hayes Baum does. He's 6 feet, 215 pounds, and he's going to grow. So, I do agree with that, Keno. I do think that there are some diamonds in the rough. You just got to find them. A couple other local New Mexico kids that are, being looked at by UNM. Urshel Alloway Jr. And Dad, we hope to have him on Road to the Pit. Phenomenal running back for St. Pius X. Had a breakout season last year. He's some guy to look at. There's certainly plenty more that we hope to feature coming up this year.
I think, it's a good question by Keno. But Ryan, I think one of the things we always talk about, the formula that Rocky Long had here with the locals he recruited, Eric and Ryan Cook, Ian Clark, Dontrell Moore, Rodney Ferguson. There were so many. And that defense was really good. That defense was, the 3-5, Rocky Long, he had that going on here. And then the offense did their job. And that's a formula that has not been duplicated since Coach Long left. So I'd like to see local players, of course, play here and succeed here. I think that was the best of times when Coach Long had that blend of locals and other players, the Penningtons, the Claude Terrells that made the pros. Blake Lagone was Frankie Solomon. They were tough. They really were. That was a team that took on the personality of its coach, who was still lifting weights in the locker room and showing those guys, he wasn't lifting 500 pounds or anything, but the guy was still tough. They took on his personality. They won football games, and Krebs wanted that fired. He wanted him fired to bring in Mike Locksley, who was what? What'd you say his record was, Ryan? 2 and what?
It was 2-26.
2-26. Since then, where's the program been? And look, anybody that thinks I'm being a negative whatever, I'm just saying these are truths that I hope are turned around starting this year. A little bit of hope last year with Coach Mendenhall, 5-7. You kind of wonder what would have happened if they had made a bowl. How many guys would have been on the team to play it? But still, they gave us some hope last year, and hopefully they can build on that. And it's a whole new regime with Coach Eck. There's no Devin Dampier, no Wysong. A lot of the playmakers they had last year are gone. The offensive line, I think, is a strength. I really do. I think their running back room is good. I've just got questions at the quarterback and their defense. Although they did bring in some more corners, some linebackers, but can they put pressure on that quarterback? That's going to be the key to me.
Well, they didn't do that last year. So I'm interested to see how the defense and defensive line is going to be. Eric and I were talking about this, Ed, and what the program's been since they hired Mike Locksley. And Eric brought it up that, Rocky's record was mediocre. But, I mean, at least there was consistency. I think he's still – I've mentioned it a zillion times – I think he's still the only coach in the history of college football to win add a game to the win column every year. I think it was 98, 99. He had 3 wins, 99 he had 4, 2000 he had 5, 2001 6. They went to a bowl game, I think, and then it was 7, 8, 9. So, or up to 8. I don't remember what the specific were, but I don't know, man. It's such a weird program, and I mentioned it about the Pit. Like, I'm repeating myself. It's a chaotic venue, and I do, for as much shit as I come on here and talk, I respect the Pit. And when I was on the East Coast, I bragged about it. It's a traditionalist basketball program. The tradition of the basketball program is it's traditionalist. But we can go on and on. We've talked about the football program, but I think for somebody who's been out in the community, just not him, but the coaches, Coach Daniel DePrado, the associate coach, he's always on Twitter. These guys aren't hiding. And, I have to say it again. I'm an alumni. It's good for our business when the basketball team is winning. It's good for business when you win because winning cures all. It helps us out. I try not to be a fan. Obviously, I'm from here. I'm a UNM alum. I talk about my Lobo fan, my Lobo football fandom about 20, 22 years ago. But I don't even know where I was going with that. I've got a million things on my mind before we get out of here. But I just hope things can get turned around. Let me end it on that.
One quick comment. I think, Nick, if you got something to add, we'll go back to you after that. The last Lobo coach to win 10 games was Joe Morrison. So Dennis Franchione. Yeah, that's been a long time. Rocky had some success, but you mentioned he started out with 3, 4. It may take a while. And on the way to that, will fans have patience with Coach Eck? Will they come to the games? That's what I'm looking for. We haven't seen it. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying I don't want it to happen. Of course I do. I'm a Lobo fan through and through. I've just been thinking about it a lot lately in this program. You've got to change the culture. I thought Bronco Mendenhall started to do that, and then he bailed. He wanted to be gone. And, Scott Cregan said the other night, well, do you blame him? They gave him more money. And, yeah, okay, he's gone. So it's not an easy sell here. Football has never been an easy sell, not ever. When Rocky was here, it was. But he took a while, too. You just mentioned 3, 4, building slowly, brick by brick. And then after that, man, it's been tough. Davey had 2 winning seasons. We said we've been through that. It didn't move the meter. 22,000 fans at University Stadium. So I'm hoping that they're going to be better. Of course I am. I love the Lobos, man. I'm a Lobo fan. And so I say that, so I hope they do better and have a better season. Son, do you have anything to add before we shut it out?
No, you guys, I think, hit the nail on the head as far as Lobo football goes. Really good coverage from you guys coming next week. I encourage everybody to tune in.
That's going to do it for Road to the Pit. Again, thanks to our guests, Curtis Vigil and Hayes Baum. For my co-host, Nick Nunez and Ryan Tamari, we'll see you next time on Road to the Pit.